Few reality TV shows truly capture the hearts of viewers worldwide. Since 2009, one show that has achieved this is Pawn Stars on the History Channel. It combines entertainment, history, and negotiation in a simple way. Rick Harrison, one of the show's founders, has spent most of his life working in the pawn shop. He worked hard to grow and expand the family business. Although he is dedicated to success, Rick has faced many personal struggles and legal issues that most people don't know about. Let's take a closer look at Rick Harrison's story and see how he is doing now. Richard Kelvin Harrison, known to fans as Rick Harrison, was born on March 22, 1965. His parents are Richard Benjamin Harrison and Joanne Rue Harrison. Rick has three siblings, Cher, Joseph, and Chris, making him the third child. He experienced tragedy early when he lost his brother Cher. Joanne Harrison, their first child, was born with Down syndrome and died at the age of 6. Rick's father served in the U.S. Navy. In 1967, when Rick was just 2, the family moved to San Diego, California, because of his father's job transfer. At age 8, Rick started having epileptic seizures. This often kept him in bed, reading books. This sparked a lifelong love for reading. His favorite series was by John D. Fitzgerald called The Great Brain. It features a clever kid named Tom D. Fitzgerald, a young con artist from Utah. Rick enjoyed learning about physics and history. He especially loved studying the Royal Navy from the late 1700s to the early 1800s. Rick attended Taft Middle School in San Diego, but dropped out in 10th grade. Instead, he sold fake Gucci bags for $20 a week. In April 1981, his family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. Their parents' real estate business had failed. At 17, Rick faced another tough time. His girlfriend Kim became pregnant. Though she was young, Rick decided to take responsibility and become a father. Sadly, they lost their first baby to a miscarriage. Still, they stayed strong and married in 1982. They welcomed their first child, Corey, on April 27, 1983. He later played a key role in his father's business. 2 years after Corey's birth, they happily added a second child, Adam. Not long after Adam was born, Harrison and Kim separated in 1985. Rick wasn't single for long. Just 9 months after his divorce, he started dating Tracy. They dated for about 8 months before marrying in 1986. Together, they took care of Corey and Adam. Rick's interests in physics and history helped his career. When his father opened a 300-foot second-hand coin shop on Las Vegas Boulevard South in 1981, Rick's knowledge of history added value. He could provide background on each item, which helped the shop succeed. At night, Rick worked repossessing cars. 5 years later, the family moved to a larger space on Fremont Street. They moved again after 2 years because they lost their lease. In Rick's autobiography, he said he and his dad wanted to turn the shop into a pawn shop for a while. They saw it as a next step, but a 1955 law in Las Vegas limited pawn licenses. These licenses were issued issued based on the city's population. They applied for a license once the population hit 250,000. In 1989, they finally received their pawn license after some legal challenges. That same year, they opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, near the Strip. At first, the father and son focused on selling special sports items and rare historical pieces. Over time, Jewelry became their main seller. Their business grew and became known around Las Vegas. By 2005, they were lending millions each year. They earned hundreds of thousands in interest. The next year, they gained fame for rare sports items with interesting histories. For example, a 2001 Super Bowl ring once belonged to football player Brock Williams. They also helped gamblers pawn things to get gas money to go home. Their success drew attention from the History Channel. This led to the creation of Pawn Stars. The show premiered in July 2009. Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines from Left Field Pictures came up with the idea during a trip to Vegas in 2008. They loved the variety of pawn shops there, especially the shady ones. They thought family-owned shops would make great TV shows. Eventually, they found the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop just 2 miles from the Strip. It had been the subject of a PBS documentary in 2001. Rick, who managed and owned part of the shop, had wanted a TV show about it for years. He had also appeared in a 2003 episode of Insomniac with Dave Attell. The show was initially pitched to HBO, but they didn't like the original idea. However, they allowed changes to give it a family-friendly style. It was first called Pawning History, but later renamed Pawn Stars to better match the show's focus. The name is a playful pun on porn stars. The show is filmed at the famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas, Nevada. Jewelry is the most common item bought there. People bring all kinds of vintage and antique items to the shop for Pawn Stars. The store has over 10,000 items in its inventory. During filming, it is closed to the public, with only a few approved customers allowed inside. The Harrison family became very popular because of the show. Many viewers watched it, left positive reviews, and wanted to see more. This helped the show grow in popularity. By January 2011, Pawn Stars was the top-rated show on the History Channel. It was also the second highest-rated reality show, just behind Jersey Shore. On June 7, 2011, Rick Harrison published his biography called Licenses to Pawn, Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver. It hit number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list. That same year, Rick divorced his second wife, Tracy. The next year, he announced his engagement to Deanna Barrett, who was also divorced. Rick enjoyed the success of the show and his growing fame. He and his son Corey, along with Chumley, appeared as themselves in an episode of the series iCarly titled I Lost My Head in Vegas. 4 days later, Rick played an antique shop owner in an episode of The Middle. Around this time, Rick married Deanna Barrett in Laguna Beach, California. Through this marriage, Rick gained 3 stepdaughters, Serena, Kiana, and Marissa. In January 2014, Rick became the spokesperson for the Micro Touch One razor, a men's shaving product. He appeared in a TV commercial for it. A few months later, the History Channel aired United States of America, a show from the team behind Pawn Stars. It focused on important artifacts from history. The game show Pornography first aired on the History Channel. It featured Rick, Corey, and Chumley competing against contestants to stop them from winning cash and items from the pawn shop's stock. Sadly, Rick and his family faced a string of tragic events. In June 2018, Rick lost his father, Richard Harrison, known as the Old Man on Pawn Stars. He announced his father's death on Instagram, telling more than 245,000 followers that Parkinson's disease was the cause. A representative for Harrison confirmed his passing and shared the same statement Rick posted. The History Channel also expressed their sadness, calling Richard Harrison a beloved part of their family. They said they would miss his wisdom and honesty and sent their sympathies to his family. Losing his father was very hard for Rick. It left him responsible for caring for his family and managing the shop. Then the COVID-19 pandemic struck in 2019, hitting the business hard. Many assumed pawn shops would do well during the pandemic because people often needed quick cash. But that wasn't the case for many shops. Though business had initially increased at the start of COVID-19, it didn't last long. Rick told Fox News that the pandemic had hurt the pawn shop industry as a whole. People mostly stayed home and stopped visiting pawn shops. This made it hard for the industry to bounce back. In March 2020, Rick had to shut part of his shop temporarily. The number of COVID cases was rising fast. The tourist part of the business was closed for a month. Despite this, the shop kept operating. The Las Vegas Review-Journal shared that the shop's CFO said they kept buying and lending, working through the night window. Rick was ready to fight for his business. He said the team at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop was ready to work harder. In April 2020, he told a local news station they lowered interest rates and gave customers more time to pick up their items. Rick added that he has been part of Las Vegas for a long time, and the city has given him a lot. During an interview, I always try to give back. Rick also said he believed the economy would recover in about 6 months. Sadly, that was not the case. According to the Daily Mail in 2020, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, which usually earned over $1 million annually, made only $37,460 that year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Rick faced another challenge when he went through a divorce from his third wife, whom he married in September 2020. Court papers obtained by TMZ show that Rick Harrison and Deanna Bedott had grown so apart that they couldn't stay married. Rick said their tastes, opinions, and preferences had become so different that they simply couldn't get along. TMZ also reported that the divorce might have been overlooked because it happened during the national George Floyd protests. Rick told TMZ, "I got 3 great daughters out of it," referring to Deanna's children from her previous marriage. He added that their marriage didn't work and that the divorce was mutual. Rick also mentioned he has moved on from posting father-daughter photos on Instagram, though it's clear he still views his stepchildren as his own. In an Instagram post on August 7th, Rick wrote about his stepdaughter, saying he considers her his own. He's expressed similar feelings about more than one of his stepdaughters. That's a positive sign, despite the problems he faced. Rick handled the tough times with support from his son Corey and his close friend Austin Chumley Russell. A year later, Rick married his 4th wife, Amanda Palmer, hoping for a better future with her. But his troubles didn't end. In February 2022, he faced legal problems involving his own mother, Joanne Rue. USA Today reported that Joanne Harrison filed a lawsuit against Rick over family assets and ownership of the pawn shop. The lawsuit was filed in Nevada State Court. Rick Harrison, the pawn shop, and the family's businesses like Harrison Properties are named as defendants. Running a family business can be hard. Money disputes can hurt even the strongest bonds. Sadly, this was true for Rick and his mother. Their relationship was deeply affected by disagreements over money and it caused a rift between them. The accusation was that Rick broke a contract. It was pointed out that his mother was married to his father for nearly 60 years. Yet, when she was in the hospital in the early 2000s, just after she woke up from a coma, Rick made her sign over her 51% ownership of the pawn shop. This happened when she didn't fully understand what she was signing. This made Rick look bad because fans who followed the story saw him as a family-oriented person who wouldn't hurt his family for money. In reality, when Richard died in 2018, his wife inherited his 49% of the pawn shop. However, it seemed she never received all the financial papers from the business. She claimed she hadn't seen proper records for more than $500,000 in cash and silver Richard had before he died. She also said Rick stopped sending her money from her late husband's share of the business. Rick used to send her $25,000 regularly, but he stopped in 2020. Joanne also tried to get that allowance back through the courts. Many fans worried Rick's wealth was at risk because reports said Joanne filed a temporary restraining order against him. The order aimed to stop Rick from selling any of the family's assets. It would have also kept him from hiding cash or taking actions that could lower her stake in the business. The lawsuit asked for damages, a full list of assets, and a court order to stop Rick from using her money. It also demanded he give up control of her property through a trust. Rick later spoke out about the case, saying the claims were false. He insisted his mother, who is 81, is being influenced by others for their gain. Joanne's court request said that while Rick lives a comfortable life as a celebrity and controls the family's money, she is worried about paying her medical bills and personal expenses. She is over 80 and has health issues that need constant care. This care can cost up to $155,000 a month. Rick said he only found out about the restraining order request from the news. According to news reports, he said he's tried to reach her many times over the past few months, but hasn't been able to get in touch. One of the companies she is suing is entirely owned by his mother. The Pawn Star appeared confused about his mother's lawsuit, even though he faces many personal challenges. The hardest blow for Rick came in January 2024 when he lost his son. A Clark County public information officer confirmed that the 39-year-old died from an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamine. The Clark County medical examiner called the death an accident. People became worried when a neighbor noticed his absence starting January 17th. The landlord found him unresponsive and called law enforcement on January 19th. Rick shared the sad news on Instagram, posting a photo of himself with his son Adam at a restaurant. He wrote, "You'll always be in my heart. I love you, Adam," and added a broken heart emoji. Laura Hurvich, a family spokesperson, said in a statement on January 22nd that Adam died from a fentanyl overdose. She asked for privacy as they mourned his loss. Rick also spoke out about the tragedy, saying the country needs to take the opioid crisis more seriously. Many offered condolences after Rick's heartfelt Instagram post. Donald Trump Jr. simply wrote, "I'm so sorry, man." Adam's older brother, Corey Harrison, shared a childhood photo of himself and Adam. In the caption, he said, "I'll always love you, Bubba." Although Adam Harrison was not seen on Pawn Stars, he once worked at Gold and Silver Pawn. Later, he became a plumber. Corey explained that Adam didn't seem interested in being on the show, even during tough times. Rick stays positive and hides his pain behind his bright smile. In 2020, he supported Donald Trump for president and Daniel Rodimer for Nevada's 3rd congressional district. He even thought about running for governor of Nevada in 2022. Rick said he might run for U.S. Senate in 2024, but he hadn't decided yet. He said, "I'm keeping my options open." In June 2023, Rick received the Kentucky Colonel Award on an episode of Pawn Stars, Do America. It's the highest honor given by Kentucky's governor. Rick no longer works full-time at the pawn shop. Now he stars in the 2nd season of Pawn Stars, Do America. Despite some legal issues, he seems to enjoy his semi-retirement, staying connected with family and grandchildren.